The ServiceNow platform provides several ways to share reports. For example, you can save or export a report in several static file formats, publish a report to a public URL, schedule a report for automatic distribution by email, and create gauges to add to homepages. For distribution, all reports can be exported in PDF format. In addition, list reports can be exported in Excel, CSV, or XML formats, depending on the role of the logged-in user. And graphic non-list reports can be saved in PNG or JPEG format. Saved and exported reports are static, while the data changes constantly. So saving and exporting are generally not good practices for sharing dynamic reports. However, for situations where a static report is required, here's a demonstration. We'll start with a non-list report. Let's save it as a JPEG file and download it. Here's our report. Notice that it has no header or footer. Of course, we could remedy that by inserting this chart into a file, such as a word processor document that has its own headers and footers. Or we could use the header-footer template provided in the export settings. This applies to reports exported in PDF format. The report title appears in the left header, the run date and time are in the right footer, and so on. We could change any of these, but we'll just leave the default values. Now, when we export this to PDF, we can specify the orientation and delivery method. And here's our report, with a header and footer. Now let's look at list reports. Here are the export options for list reports. We have Excel, comma-separated values, and some PDF options, including orientation. The detailed options export the list as well as the associated form for each record in the list. These choices work the same in list reports as they do in graphic non-list reports. Note that when a list is exported, the grouping does not transfer. The data must be regrouped in the spreadsheet. Also, to avoid performance issues, the platform provides default limits to the amount of data that can be exported at one time. See the product documentation for information on how to export large amounts of data and many other tips related to exporting list reports. A good practice for sharing a ServiceNow report is to publish it to a publicly accessible URL and schedule distribution of the URL by email for delivery at specific times of the day, week, or month, internally or externally. To publish reports, the logged-in user must have both the ITIL role and the report publisher role. Let's say we want to publish the Open Incidents by Priority report to share it. We just select Publish, and the report URL appears at the top of the form, where we can copy it to embed in web pages or email messages. When users click the link, the web page always displays the report based on current data. This works the same way it does in the Reports application. Users can't view the underlying data unless they have proper access to do so. Also, the user must be logged into the ServiceNow instance to see the underlying data. Refreshing the browser updates the report with the latest data in the underlying table. And by the way, if you want to unpublish a report, here's where you do it. Scheduling is a convenient way to automate the distribution of reports. Scheduling allows you to run large reports during off hours, generate snapshots of data at regular intervals, and use a predefined email message to distribute reports internally to groups or individuals in the system or externally. To schedule reports, the logged-in user must have both the ITIL role and either the report admin or report scheduler role. Let's open the report we published earlier, Open Incidents by Priority, and copy the published report link. Now we open the scheduling form. First, we indicate who's to receive the email notification for this scheduled report. Users and groups are internal. To receive scheduled reports, users must have an email address defined and have email notification enabled in their user records. Email addresses are for users who should receive the report but are not in the system. We'll distribute this report to the hardware, software, database, and network groups. Here we make sure it's active, select the frequency, and the day and time it should run. We'll run it during off hours. Time here is represented on a 24-hour clock. We want this report to run weekly without any conditions, but if we had conditions, this is where we'd specify them. To suppress the report when no records exist, we'd select this checkbox. But we'll go ahead and generate the report anyway to let recipients know if there are no active incidents. This is the subject of the email. Here, for the introductory message, we have a variety of text formatting tools. We'll just put in a brief message. Linking the report to open in a new browser window. The default type here is PDF landscape, but there are other options for graphic reports. List reports are sent in PDF, Excel, or CSV format. The selected type will be sent as an email attachment. Some reports may be so large that they exceed the maximum allowed email attachment size limits. See the product documentation for how to schedule large reports. This is a small report, so we don't need to zip it. And here, to reduce report-related email volume, we could select additional scheduled reports to send in the same email notification. The product documentation explains how to do this. Now the report is scheduled, and at the specified time, the system will generate the report and send notifications. After a report is scheduled, it is listed here, and this is where you would make changes or delete the schedule. Here's how the email message for our scheduled report appears to recipients. The attached PDF report is static, but recipients can view the dynamic data by clicking the link. A gauge is a refreshable widget viewable as a homepage section. Any report can be a gauge, but not all gauges are reports. A user with the Gauge Maker role can make any report as a gauge and then add that gauge to a homepage where the user has editing access. Let's make a gauge of our Open Incidents by Priority report and add it to the ITIL homepage. To make a gauge, we just open the report and select Make Gauge from the report options. If a gauge already exists for a report, Make Gauge does not appear on the options list. Here we're logged in as admin because admins can edit the ITIL homepage. We click the Add Content icon, and here we select Gauges and the table, and finally our Open Incidents by Priority gauge. Let's put it at the top of the page. And this is how it appears on the homepage. ITIL users can interact with this chart just as with the original report. Gauges for a homepage are refreshed according to this refresh setting. Use caution when setting the refresh period. The system refreshes all gauges on the homepage each time the homepage is displayed for a user, and each refresh requires a database query. So frequent refreshes in an organization with many users viewing the homepage could tax system resources. That is how you distribute ServiceNow reports to others. See additional videos in this series for help on other reporting topics. For more information, please consult our product documentation or knowledge base, or ask a question in the ServiceNow community.